Hi there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I don't know what that was about, but this is why we do these little tests.
Right. Well, I had to actually join the audio. A button came up and said, "Do you want to join the audio?" So I think that made the difference.
Oh, well, I need to make sure that I'm the host.
Okay.
Otherwise, we may have, yeah, I'm going to put mute on entry for anybody else coming in.
Okay.
And it is already recording because I've learned the lesson to just let it start and then
Yeah.
we can chop off the first 10 minutes. Um, okay, cool. Well, we have 8 minutes. So I'm pulling up your bio so I have something to read.
Okay.
And typically what I put is I put a page here, but I need to create one, either a Gateway to Dreams coaching circle, just a simple graphic, and that way it's on there so as people come in they don't have to see me doing stuff behind the scenes. So
No problems. I admire you for what you're doing, Deborah. I think you're awesome actually conducting these. It's cool.
oh, thank you. All right, let's find your, oh, here you are. Cool. Alrighty. Okay, so now we have 7 minutes, so I'm gonna drink a little smoothie and
Enjoy yourself. Hey, I have my cell phone on mute so that we shouldn't hear that if it rings. And then I do have a home phone, so it will go to my answering machine, but it'll ring probably 3 times. So I'll try not to let that appear
yeah.
that it's bothering me. So if you hear that, that's just my home phone number.
Same here. I mean, we are people in our offices, just like we would be in our offices.
Exactly. I don't get a lot of calls, so I'm not expecting that I will, but I wanted to warn you in case I
Yeah.
won't be getting up to answer it.
And I turned off my email because it dinged every time.
Yeah.
This looks crooked. Why is that? Okay. And we had a whole gaggle of school kids on my front steps petting my cat a minute ago. And I was like, do I close my windows? Do I go tell them to
Yeah.
move along? I know. I love that they come by and pet my old cat because he doesn't get enough love anyway. So,
Sure.
especially with my girls gone. So,
Yeah. So how long have you been doing these? How many have you actually done?
started in January, maybe.
Wow.
Well, I've been doing them for myself too.
Yeah. I know. I've seen some of your videos. Yeah.
Right. And then, well, I do my video blog, and then I also do once a month the Luminary speaker series where I interview people.
Yeah.
And I've been through just about every technical glitch you can imagine, like somebody in New York was in a middle of a storm and she would get on to Zoom and then get dropped and then on, and she kept logging back on, and her internet was unstable. So we ended up, she was such a trooper. We ended up, I gave her a phone number to call for my conference line. So she calls in there, and then I couldn't figure out how to record on that one. So I said, okay, I know how to record on the other one. I just wasn't sure which one. So I gave her another number. She called in there, and I recorded the whole, like, probably 50 minutes of an interview with her.
Mm-hmm.
She's incredible. Have you heard of Gloria Felt?
Nope.
She runs what's called Take the Lead, and
Okay.
it's for women's leadership. And she has a dream that she says research says that women will reach parity with men. There will be gender parity in positions of leadership by 2095.
Really?
She says, I'm all about changing that to 2025. So she says, if you're with me, so she teaches power tools, which are more leadership development pieces that I also teach, along with my more embodiment and spiritual piece. So it was fascinating. She was so much fun.
Sounds like an interesting person. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. You can catch her replay if you want on my.
Okay.
I can send you the link. Okay, it's 4:56. I don't know if we'll have anybody join us, just because we didn't see the invitation come out from Karen till today.
Yeah.
And we've typically never had more than one person.
Dang.
For
me, for you, darn.
Well, yeah, I feel like sometimes am I doing these just because the other piece is we haven't really found a home for the archives.
Yeah.
So if there's not a resource, I want them to be a resource so they know who each of you guys are and they know where they can go if they have questions.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I don't know.
But you know what? You're learning every time you do one. And so, you're getting a real benefit. And like I said, I admire you for doing your videos. I've done a few, but I certainly, there's a lot of talk about the power in them and how important they are. So I highly admire you. And when you say you run into every glitch imaginable, that's a good thing, though. I mean, you've looked at a lot of the bugs.
Yeah, I'd rather them be on things like you versus, Sue Martin and I did ours about 4 or 5 times because that's when I was like, I can't do the webinar jam thing anymore. It was just, and we had people signing up, and that was the hard part because we could never, either they would get locked off or something. So
I had webinar jam myself before I realized that Gateway had invested in it, but I have to tell you, I've never used it. But I do.
Really?
I belong to their Facebook page, and I see people on there talking about all the glitches that they have. They have got, lots of people signed up and they can't get them in. And I can only imagine what that's doing to their business and their credibility.
Yeah, I'm starting a class tomorrow, actually, for the next 8 weeks. That's on Tuesday afternoons. That's going to be all done on Google Hangout on Air. And she's using Webinar Jam. And they have a backup plan. So they said, if ever in our small group of like 6 or 7 people, one of us can't get on, we will they have Maestro conference backup with everybody's got a phone number to call in for that. So I think that's pretty brilliant. And now that I'm doing these, I'm thinking that's what I might want to do is say, here's the backup if for some reason we can't get on.
Yeah.
And then also provide that information to the attendees to say, we will start on this platform and here's the church bells, meaning we're 30 seconds away. So. Okay. Not that it really matters if it's exactly at 5, but.
That's all right.
Just in case somebody's coming to join us. Okay, so I would like to welcome everyone who will catch this on the replay since we don't have any attendees this evening. This is Deborah LeeAnn, and today our guest for the Gateway to Dreams Coaching Circle community is Glenda Woolley, and I'd love to tell you a little bit about her. And Glenda is a coach, a trainer, and a speaker. And she has her own business called 5-Star Leadership, and she's also been John Maxwell Group trained. So she has a couple different ways you can find her, and I'll share both of those towards the end of our time together. Glenda is the owner of 5-Star Leadership, LLC, and certified as a John Maxwell coach, trainer, and speaker. She has a passion for helping others develop their leadership and communication skills. After 22 years in the corporate arena, Glenda has a highly effective and results-oriented experience. She's a professional and is experienced in facilitating employee development through training, coaching, and mentoring. Glenda provides her services through mastermind studies, through lunch and learns, through workshops, speaking, and coaching. So I'd like to welcome Glenda to our program today. Hi there.
Hi. Thank you, Deborah, very much for, inviting me to be a part of your program. I'm very excited. I love the work that you're doing, and I love the opportunity for you and I to chat about the business that I have. And so thank you very much for kind of filling in your audience about what I do, and I look forward to your questions and our discussion today.
Great, thanks. There is a small wiggle. Is that on my end or your end with the screen? Do you notice that?
No,
now it's calmer. Okay. It was just
my desk, so it could be from my angle.
Aha. Okay, cool.
Okay, hands to myself.
Okay. So what I'd like to start off with is, I know that you had 22 years in the corporate arena. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I do believe that everything we've ever done helps to make us the unique, brilliant people that we are today. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely, and I agree with your thought that I think that at any point in your life, if you take the time to reflect, you can probably see that whatever you might be doing today or what you're longing or you're drawn to, if you look back over where you've been, that it absolutely has prepared you for where you are today. Mm-hmm. I do have a long time career. I had a long time career with corporate. The company that I worked with is a well-established company. I started with them as a worker bee, and I worked myself up in a few years after my boss identified in his mind that I had some leadership skills. And so quickly I was put into a leadership position that unfortunately at that time, which was a long time ago, just the fact that I demonstrated leadership skills, they thought for sure that I could lead a team of people to achieve results.
With no training.
With no training.
Right, yeah.
So the sad thing in all of this story, though, is that when my boss brought me in to say my boss had left his position and they needed a new leader for our team, when he said, "Glenda, you have leadership skills," I believed him. And so, I thought that I had been anointed with the supervisory manager title, and that's really all I needed. And then if my boss said I was a leader, I must be a leader.
And how did that work?
Oh, not so good. I made all the mistakes. I used my position and my title to talk to people that I had, been one of them the day before, and now I was one of them, the supervisory ranks. And, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm embarrassed to tell you about how I thought I could get them to achieve the results that we had been enjoying with our other supervisor, our boss. So as you can imagine, quickly my results within my team started to go down quickly. And the morale in our department was poor, and my relationship with the people that I was leading was certainly less than, optimum. So my boss started calling me in for further conversations about, what the heck was going on, rather than ask. And this was a long time ago, and, in some companies and corporations today, they do a better job. But at the time, that was many years ago, and they just really, oftentimes people were promoted to leadership positions just because of tenure, or like I said, I evidently demonstrated some leadership qualities, and so they felt comfortable. And maybe I was the only one that was willing to say yes, Deborah. So we started having these really uncomfortable conversations about, hey, we thought you were a leader. What's going on out there? And your results are tanking. And what are you going to do about it? So I started thinking long and hard because I really needed my job. And I was rather devastated to think that, what he'd seen in me evidently wasn't present. So, of course, I started to question my ability, and my confidence certainly was, a bit dented. So I have to say that somehow I had a divine intervention, epiphany, something happened to me, and I decided you're going to have to do something about this. And maybe that was a leadership competency that was coming out at me. So I drove myself one day down on my lunch hour to the nearest bookstore, because I figured that, there had to be some books written on this leadership thing and leading teams and how did you achieve good results. And sure enough, when I got to the local bookstore, there were a lot of books written on leadership. It was a very timely topic. And so as I was looking at this bookshelf in the business section of all these titles of authors and, all colors of jackets of books and I could see that, there was a whole lot I needed to learn. I'd already experienced in the workplace, and now I knew because there was lots of things written. So for me, where did I start? Start at the top of the shelf and work my way down, or where would I begin? So I have to tell you that I sort of like the color combinations of red and black together. And so the book that I pulled off the shelf, it was black and red book cover, and it was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell.
Wow. That's so cool. I've never heard this story. This is great.
Yep. So I pulled off that book, and I have to tell you, when I read the title, I saw 21 laws, and I was thinking, wow, I really do have a lot to learn here. So while 21 laws was daunting, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get started. I might as well get started right now. So I bought that book, and I took it home, and I started reading about each one of those 21 laws. And I started reading a chapter and going into my workplace and applying those principles with my team. And sure enough, I started to see results because I was applying those principles. And I really didn't share with my team that I was reading a book, but they did notice a change in me and the way that I approached them. And I certainly, became more interested in who they were and what goals they had for themselves, and us, working together as a team to achieve results and asking them their ideas. And so I immediately became a John Maxwell fan because I was proof that his principles do work.
Wow. And so how long before you decided to go into the coaching with John?
Well, I towards the end of my career, probably the last couple years of my career, because John has written over 74 books on primarily leadership.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you I've read all 74, but I have read a lot of them because I was definitely his fan. He'd write a book, I'd start to read the book and apply his principles. So I followed him throughout my whole corporate career, and I certainly can attribute a lot of my success to the principles that I learned from John. And I actually, have seen him live in person. He came to St. Louis a few times. I sat, and listened to him talk. And I just always thought one day how neat it would be to actually work for him. But he was in Atlanta, Georgia for a time, and then he was in Florida, and I was in Missouri. And, that was before the virtual world really came into being. And so that was a dream. I just really wanted to hang around with John Maxwell all the time. But I had kids to raise and, my family to support. And, that just really wasn't realistic that I could, or did I even want to relocate or even, seek out employment through his company. But the last 2 years of my career, I heard about how he was forming a coaching program that John is, I think he's 67 today, but a few years earlier, he decided he wanted to leave a legacy, and that he knew that his books would be a legacy for his principles. But he thought too that he really wanted, people to be equipped to actually teach, train, and coach his principles. So he, along with another person, they came up with the idea of creating a coaching program, a certification program. So when I first heard about it, I was still working in corporate, and I, thought to myself, one day I'm going to start the second chapter of my life. And so I thought, I'm going to make that part of it. So about 2 years into his offering of his program, I signed up while I was still working with the idea that one day when I left my corporate job, that I would, start my own business. And John's certification program, his company, I'm not an employee of his company like I made reference to earlier. I am my own independent contractor. Through taking his certification program, I am just able to use his branding and I'm a certified, so I have some credentials through his program, but independently, my company, 5-Star Leadership, runs on its own. I'm just able, licensed, and able to use his materials and use his branding in my marketing and sales approach.
Very cool. So I'm curious, what other leadership books, programs, trainings? I mean, did you ever look at anything else, or have you just been a devotee of John Maxwell's books?
I'm a lifelong learner. So no, I have not exclusively always read John's books. I read, all kinds of leadership books, and I always love Zig Ziglar. Of course, he's gone from us now, Stephen Covey. But I can't say as I ever really looked into any other certification programs. It wasn't until I, saw John's program that I even really considered that I would one day coach, and that I might need some credentials, behind my name, a certification, and that's a debate for conversation these days too, as to whether or not you need a coach that's certified, has some kind of credentials or certification, or whether just their life experience is enough for them to be qualified to be a coach. But that was the first program that I knew of, and so I really can't say that I really investigated, becoming a part of another program, but very definitely highly respect other leaders that have, and there's wonderful, great books. And that's one of my favorite questions to ask people: what are you reading? And, what are the great books out there? Because it helps me sort through so many options that we have to read today.
So many. I know. I actually am wondering about doing a book club where everybody reads a different book and then comes and shares the synopsis in 10 minutes or something. And I thought, because there's no way. I mean, my stack of books that I want to read is just ridiculous. And it's all, I wish I would read for fun. It's all business, women, leadership, changing the world kind of stuff. So, so this transition of being on your own, was this a choice that, did you come to like a place where you had that crossroads and you knew you had to make that decision, or was it not your decision?
It was sort of a combination of both. I knew that the last few years of my career, I saw where the company restructured multiple times, and they would put together a list of folks that they didn't feel they needed any longer. And being at a level in management, I was part of those discussions sometimes. And because I was really the last couple of years of my career, I just knew I had a successful career there. I had, gotten to the position that I had strived to be. I had raised my kids. I'd, paid for, weddings and, put my kids through college. And so there was always been a longing in me to do something else, but to always add value, to find a way to add value to people. And based on my experiences in corporate leading teams, and then all the study that I've done over the years being a lifelong learner, I knew that I had something to offer other people, and especially women. I target professional women in particular because I feel like I have at least some understanding of where they are, what they're trying to accomplish for themselves. I work with men, but my favorite clients are women because I just can understand their world just a little bit better.
Yeah. So do you? I'm sorry. Did you have another thought?
I was just going to say that at one point my boss came to me and said that it was time for us to look at, a list of potential employees that we were going to have to part ways with. And I started praying about it. I'm a person of faith. And I just felt like that I'd been sort of in the back of my mind preparing for the second chapter of my life. And I just felt a longing, and I felt like that God was telling me, it's time, Linda. And even though it took courage to go in that day and tell my boss, you know what, I'd really like that you would consider to put me on that list this time. And even though they didn't really particularly care for that idea, it just felt so right to me. And so I made the decision to go ahead and separate from my company.
Nice. I didn't know that story either. This is great. Yeah. So how did you find your way to Gateway to Dreams, and what is your role there?
I found my way to Gateway to Dreams through Karen Hoffman. I attended, one day I was looking in the Women's Journal, the local paper here, the Women's Journal, and I saw where Karen Hoffman was advertising her workshop, Joy of Goals. And as much as I've been a lifelong learner, I've always set goals for myself, but actually writing down my goals and always having a plan in my head for achieving goals. And I have been successful in achieving goals, but I just thought maybe I was missing the mark. And maybe if I went to this seminar, maybe they would, help me with that a little bit more. And like I said, I'm always willing to learn something new. And I just wanted to hear their spin on, goal setting. And it was going to be, I just thought there'd be other women there. And, I was embarking on new territory because I had left my corporate life. And so I knew that chances are there would be women there that had their own businesses and I could learn. So I sought that workshop out, just because I wanted to learn more about that. And I was intrigued by the topic. And so I attended that all-day workshop, and Karen Hoffman, that's her, she leads it along with another person. And I just really enjoyed myself. And so that day I had the opportunity, even though it was heavily attended, I had the opportunity to sort of talk to Karen a little bit. And she told me that day a little bit about her organization, her nonprofit, Gateway to Dreams. And so maybe a month or so later, she contacted me and I set up an appointment and I went in to talk to her. And she sort of explained to me the vision for Gateway to Dreams. And she invited me to be one of her coaches. So I felt, very privileged that she would be interested in me. And I thought that would be a great way for me to, again, add value to people who come in there and they're, giving them their hope back and, wanting to pursue a dream that's been, buried for a long time, or some encouragement that what the naysayers in their life told them they ought to forget about, that we could help them resurrect that dream. So, yeah, I'm privileged to be a Gateway to Dreams coach.
Nice. And you also do some things with the Dream Tank, and I know that you've taken on and kind of organized some of the systems, and I think that you've contributed in many other ways besides just being a coach. So I just want to put that in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can see your administrative brain working in some time.
Yeah. I am an analytical, all the profiles, all the assessments that I take. I am a structured analytical thinker. And so I am all about execution. I love global ideas, and I can, I can be creative in the right environment, but I really like to be around people that are the creative global thinkers. And then I like to take their ideas, and then I like to help them execute on it, because the next thing I want to know is, okay, I love this idea. What's the first thing that we're going to do? I want to plan, how are we going to get this started? Who needs to be involved? What are the resources that we have? And so that's just kind of how I approach life. I'm a planner.
Cool. And we've needed you a lot in that role. So tell me, in terms of, if there's a dreamer who's found their way to Gateway to Dreams, or any other client that would be the ideal type of client for you, who is that?
Well, for me, if I'm seeking a dreamer, honestly, I do have an expertise in, I'm more focused on career or your business. And so I'm more intrigued by a person's dream that has to do with, they're frustrated with their team not achieving the results that their boss would like, or that they would feel more satisfied. I'm more focused on a person that maybe they're trying to prepare themselves for the next promotion, and they don't really realize that they need to invest in themselves, that they need to be a lifelong learner. And so I like to have conversations with people to find out, what are their goals, what's holding them back. And then together we could talk through, what do they think that they might be able to do? And sometimes it could be something really small, and I'm really about that too. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's human nature, but we always think that to make a change in our life, it has to be something really big. Yep. And oftentimes, it can be something really very, very small. Sometimes it starts with you just picking up the phone and making a phone call, or sending an email, or maybe it's researching, something that, that a plan or an idea that you have for yourself, or exploring something, or maybe it's talking to a coach or a mentor, finding yourself a mentor. A lot of times people, they're just so involved in their day-to-day life, their day-to-day routine, that they don't really have time to think that through. And that's what I love about the Dream Tank that we have once a month on the third Thursday. People come in and they can actually focus on themselves for that hour and a half that they're together with us. They can begin to reflect and resurrect some of those thoughts that they had. And we can get them started. Before they leave, we try to figure out just one thing that they could do to maybe advance or make some kind of progress.
And that is, I think, also the cheerleading and the high energy and the optimism makes that one little first step, which again takes courage, it makes it so much more doable in our minds. It's like, oh, I can do this. And I love the follow-up that the coaches do as well. So within 24 to 48 hours, we want to make sure that you've taken this step because it'll start that whole ball rolling. Yeah.
Right. And then after they write down what their action step's going to be, then us as the coaches, we commit to either emailing them or just giving them a call to find out how did it go. And
right.
We all have a much better chance of moving forward if we know somebody's going to check in with us.
And I love that. I just think that's a great, I've actually texted a lot and just said, I know it's the weekend. You don't have to respond. I'm just your little gentle reminder that you said you would do this. And sometimes they'll respond with done or, oh yeah, I'll do it by tomorrow night or something. So it's very fun.
And what I do too, sometimes I will, and we don't check in with them to make them feel bad because they didn't move forward. I always tell them too, if you weren't able to, then, tell me what was the obstacle or the challenge, because I think there's some learning there that maybe it's something that stopped them before, or maybe it's a person that stopped them. They shared what they were going to do. And the person said, why would you, they questioned them. Why would you want to do that? Which is so sad, but that happens sometimes. But I think that there's value in that too, to even not to feel bad because you couldn't move forward, but to just look at that or reflect on that. Why is it that I wasn't able to? And, what's the plan now? You were committed to it. So like you said, maybe sometimes they tell you, well, I didn't do it when I thought I would. I didn't do it on Friday after we saw you on Thursday, but I'm going to do it on Monday. I am going to make that call, or I am going to send that email, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, there's, definitely support and accountability in a lot of different ways.
And I've actually noticed that if there's a block of moving forward, even to say, okay, so can we cut it in half? Can we make that step even smaller?
Yeah.
But the success comes from that. So yeah, that's fabulous. So ideal clients, if we were to refer someone to you, tell me a little bit about, are they currently employed and wanting to make a change, or are they someone who's left the corporate world and now they don't know what they want to do? I mean, where do you pick up and support them?
Right. I would say that, it's good to narrow your focus. I would say that I'm probably most powerful for women that are in positions and they need, some coaching to try to move their career along or to achieve better results with their team.
Okay.
However, because I have made that transition from a structured corporate life into, starting a second chapter of your life, I could, help women or men that are, at that point in their life too, making a transition. But typically, I really enjoy, I think that I can be more impactful for people that are currently, in a position and they want to figure out, how could they achieve their goals in the workplace or achieve better results with their teams.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you was about, you said that you did lunch and learns and workshops. What kind of topics are you, are your favorite ones to teach in those environments?
Sure. I teach principles of leadership. My favorite one to teach is called The Law of the Lid. It's one of John Maxwell's, and it's all about being a lifelong learner, and that the place that you need to start is that we all have a leadership lid, and that wherever we are today in our current learning, where I have a leadership lid too, even though I've had lots of experience and challenges and experiences in my life, I still have a lid, and so I got to continually look for a way to further grow and develop my ability. And if I happen to be leading my business or if I'm leading a team, I cannot give what I don't have. And so, unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that idea that, when they graduated out of college or they got that first position, and that was kind of like me years ago, I thought once I got the title, that's really all I needed to do. But we really do have to keep learning and growing. So I like to teach that leadership principle as well as others. I also like to teach one that's called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And, it's all around communication. And, what's Brene Brown say? She says, talk is cheap. Everybody does it. But, people do talk and communicate, but do they really connect with another person? So I teach principles about how can you really truly connect with a person. And the way that you can really connect with people is to be a good listener, which, most all of us know that, even though that can be really difficult. But also another excellent way, just like what we're experiencing today, to connect with another person, Deborah, is to ask questions.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? It's so fun when somebody asks us questions and then they listen to us. It's like, this is so rare. Why is it so rare? Yeah. So maybe that's why when I talk to these luminary leaders for my interview series, that they all say, this was so fun. I don't know what they thought. I mean, they thought I was going to put them through torture or something, but at the end they're like, they felt so good about themselves. And many of them are already quite successful women. So it's pretty fascinating to me to have, I've had pretty much 100%, oh my gosh, this was fun.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, you did the right thing because you really connected with them. And, you can have that too in networking and one-on-one meetings that, if you make it about the other person, when you meet someone, if you're, more interested in them than promoting yourself or talking about yourself. And, we have to resist that a little bit because we all do like to talk about ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
And there's really nothing wrong with that. It's just that you're not going to be as powerful actually making a connection with people. But like you said, I've had people have one-on-one meetings with them and they're like, wow, this is the best meeting. I do these all the time, but this is the best one I've ever had. And it's because I focused on that person rather than myself.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, questions.
So let's see, there I had another one around. So the different workshops and lunch and learns. Oh, so do you have, I'm assuming that you have programs or in your process. Do you do like a multi-coaching pack program, or do you do group programs, or how do you work with your clients, I guess is what I want to know.
I prefer to work in groups, group coaching, and I do that. I probably approach it through masterminds. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but that's where people come together and I throw out a particular idea or topic in our sessions, and then we actually together mastermind, and where minds come together and we talk about ideas or experiences. And I really love that, in that not only do I get to talk about, my experiences or share information, and I try to keep that minimal because the gold really lies in when minds come together and people can encourage and support and share experiences. And so I can do some group coaching on a particular topic depending on what the group's needs are, what type of topic. I usually try to talk to them about what they would like to talk about, what's, important on their mind or what they're focused on. And these days, lots of people are focused on, trying to get that next promotion or trying to get results for their team. So that's a very timely topic for group coaching. But I do individual coaching. I do have a couple small business owners that they're trying to grow their business, and they'd like to seek out ways that the things that they are struggling with, either to get more clients or just grow their business, or they have a small amount of staff. And unfortunately, I find that small business owners don't always have a lot of experience with leading people. So recently I've had, a few clients that they do have staff, good people, but they just really don't know, how to really relate to them. And so I can help them. But the coaching that I do is, it's not a mentor. Sometimes people get confused with what a mentor is versus what a coach is. a mentor is somebody that shares their experiences, and we can do some of that in our masterminds. But true coaching is me asking them questions and we exploring, what are their goals, what are their aspirations, what are they trying to accomplish, and then us, them coming up with a plan for, how they'll move forward, because they have to own it. I could make some suggestions if they're really stuck, and I do sometimes with their permission, but I really focus on the individual and really try to be a good listener and ask questions.
And hold them. Don't you kind of hold them to their word if they say, oh yeah, I want to do this, because this is me. I want to do this and this and this, and I'm going to do all this by October.
Yeah.
And I have to have what I call accountability partners that actually said, Katie, you said you'd be here by August 25th. How are you doing? That's tomorrow. And I'm like, oh. So yeah, I need to have that.
Right. That is an element in my coaching. Absolutely. We always set the next meeting, and before they leave me, we have some action plan.
Okay.
We're ready. Sometimes the first few sessions, sometimes they're not really ready to figure out what we're still talking through, really what they want to focus on sometimes. But
right.
After a few meetings, then we start with each meeting, they're telling me what action they're going to take. And the next time we get together, we absolutely start out with, okay, the last time we were together, this is what we talked about. And so tell me, how did it go? And it kind of goes back to our previous conversation about what we do at Gateway to Dreams. It's not to beat up on anybody or make anybody feel bad. It's just, let's talk about, how far did you get? And if you weren't able to accomplish it, what was it that's, stopped you? And you know what? Maybe we need to reformulate your plan. Maybe there's something else that you thought of that might be a better way. And so we can always be open to that too.
Right.
It's always the best plan, even though it felt right at the moment when we were talking about it.
Right. And there's a great book that I just got in my leadership mastery group that's around procrastination. And they said sometimes you're procrastinating because a part of you actually knows that this isn't the next right step, that there's something else or a different direction. But I mean, you can't use that all the time. And that's just like one out of 50 of these different excuses. But
that's interesting, though. I like that. I had not heard that.
Because we have sometimes an intuition that will be like, no, I just don't really want to talk to this person yet. And then maybe it'll be because in a week and a half's time, you'll have this whole new idea of how to talk to that person, and it makes it flow better. So sometimes it's a timing thing versus pushing something that it maybe isn't the right timing. So.
Yeah, and how wise to be in tune with that when that's going on with you too.
Right. Right.
What they talk about sometimes it feels like you're pushing the rock up the hill.
Yes. And then what's the fine line? Is it just because I don't want to do this, or is it really because I'm making something happen that doesn't really want to happen?
Right.
And that's where, again, a coach comes into play to give us another set of eyes and another, intuition and wisdom, and to come at and look at it with us and say, you know what, this does seem kind of odd. Maybe let's look at it this way and see next steps.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So the other question I had for you was around how, this is something that I'm running into, and I'm not so sure if you do, but many people are like, oh yeah, well, I had a coaching session. I'm good. I'm fixed. I've got it. Or I did my 3 months of coaching. I'm okay now. I'm on track. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, I don't know anyone that is successful that doesn't have at least one coach. And sometimes they have a therapist and a coach, or a minister and a coach, or, a best girlfriend group where they can rant and get the good advice. But there's lots of support that are around the really successful people.
Right.
And how do we shift the perception around having a coach actually means that you're investing in where you're going and in your business and in your dreams in a way that is affirming and validating, not like there's something wrong with you or you'd be able to figure it out yourself, Yeah. Do you have thoughts on that, or?
Well, I think that some of it, when you do your initial meeting with them, your discovery, usually what you do is you visit, where they are,
Mm-hmm.
and, where they'd like to be, say, in 6 months. And then you talk about, if they're not, they're certainly talking to you because they're not where they want to be, what they're looking for in their business or their career, that, you are sort of going over what are some of the obstacles that they face. So you're sort of bringing that out in that discovery. So they're kind of visiting, and you're sort of visiting, well, what have you tried? And, have you been able to move forward? Are you making the progress that you want? And chances are they haven't, since they're seeking out the advice of a coach. And the other thing that I do too is I will do a 30-minute complimentary session, but it's really for me too to find out whether or not I line up well with the person. Because as much as I love adding value to people, not everybody's my customer, and I can't help everybody.
That was my next question, but let's finish this first.
Yeah. So then I do, once we decide that we are a good match for each other, then I do make them to make at a minimum a 3-month commitment.
Good. Okay.
You just can, and I'd like 6
months. Anywhere, right? 6 months is even better.
It is. But sometimes people, if they're not familiar with coaching, they won't, but I don't sign on to do less than 3 months. But even that, you're really pushing it to expect some results. Things just, like I alluded to earlier, we have several sessions where we haven't even gotten drilled down, where we want to go, where that person really wants to go, in a short period of, a few sessions, you just can't even be there.
Right.
So
and there's that whole understanding and building relationship and getting the trust at the foundation. I mean, that all takes time. Just like team building, you're not going to get them to go in and just all gel immediately without some kind of shared experience. So I'm glad to hear that, because I think that kind of a commitment is, I feel like it's essential for people who are like, well, I had my one coaching session, so I'm good. And I'm like, yeah. Do you get your hair cut once and you never get it cut again? I don't know. I mean, maybe you do.
Right. Well, I'm sure they did feel good about talking to you. So they, we have that at Gateway to Dreams during Dream Tank. It's like you alluded to, we have an emotional high. Something good does happen for the moment that we're here. But we need more than that. We just we want something to change in our life. Wouldn't it be great? But it's just like everything else. There's no quick fixes.
Yeah, I exercised today, so that means I'm losing 5 pounds. Not really. So I love that.
And then really want value out of coaching, you've got to make a stronger commitment than that.
Yes, thank you for that, because that's what I was curious about. And one of the final questions I have for you is around, you said that not everybody is your client. And so one of the things that I actually even put in one of my marketing materials is, this program is for you if da 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 da, and it is not for you if da 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 da. Who would you, give me some ideas of people that would not be the ideal client for you to take on.
Ones that think that I have all the answers.
Yeah. They don't want to be responsible for their own answers. I love that. Sorry, clients.
Yeah. And ones that don't have an understanding. And we talk over what is coaching, and ones that are not willing to do some work, because there's work involved in being coached. As like I said, usually after you leave me, we've decided on something that you're going to be doing in between the times that we meet next. And, people that, I hate to use that word, but people that are in pain. Whatever they're doing is not working for them in their career or their business, and they truly are committed to wanting to make a change.
Right. So there's a lot of people that shop, I'm finding, that are like, well, I just want to see what who you are and what you do and how you do it. Thanks. And I'm like, thank you for taking, because it's like, that's not, I'm ready for the people who want to change, that are ready, that are at that, the pain, unfortunately, or that discomfort, Right.
Yeah, that's probably a better word than pain.
Yeah, but I get it. The last thing I wanted to just ask is, for our listeners, if they were to want to connect with you, to see you outside of Gateway to Dreams for additional coaching, whether it's for taking that dream to leave the corporate world, or they're at that crossroads trying to figure out where they want to go, or they're actually starting the entrepreneurial path, which I actually tell people is one of the highest spiritual paths you can walk, and are looking for some support on that. How would they find you, and what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, I have 2 websites. I have, I don't know. I have Glenda Woolley. I have, let's see, it's.
Here, I can pull up your bio. Would that be helpful?
That would be good. It's kind of like not knowing your phone number. You know how you got it in your phone?
Yeah. Hold on one sec. Oh, it's got a freeze thing. Hello. Share screen. Okay, I want to share this. Okay, so do you see your screen?
I do.
Okay, cool. I'll get rid of that. So I don't know if I can make it bigger.
I can see it fine. You want me to read it? I can read it from here. I should know it.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to bring that up so that way if somebody is looking at this online, they would also have access to seeing it themselves. So, Okay, go ahead.
I have 2 websites. One is 5 Star Leadership. That's the name of my company, and it's the number 5, not 5 spelled out. 5starleadership.com.
Okay.
And then being a John Maxwell coach, I also have a John Maxwell website, which is johnmaxwellgroup.com/Glenda Woolley.
Okay.
And both of those websites are connected, so if you go to either one, you'll be connected to the other.
Okay.
And then also, too, I love to hear from people via my cell phone, so they could also call me on my phone number, which is area code 314-303-3308.
Cool. And do you do any social media or anything else?
I am on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's all on LinkedIn.
Okay. So they can do a search for you. And by the way, I did not know until I searched for you in my email list that you have 2 L's. So it's O-L-L.
Yeah, that's really important. My last name's kind of tricky. I acquired that through marriage. It's Wolley. You're right.
Got it. Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Facebook page. I'm not real active on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I tend to be, more on LinkedIn.
Cool. Okay. And do you have a blog, or do you write anything that they could just kind of get an idea of your thought process and how you work?
I'm in infancy there. I'm just starting. I haven't begun a blog, but I'm preparing to launch one. So no, I don't currently blog.
Okay.
I also just started writing for a newsletter for a women's organization, Athenia Leadership, but my first article hasn't been published yet. So more to come.
Nice. That's excellent. Okay, cool. Well, we will close then, and typically we allow some time towards the end of the hour for questions and answers of the coach. And since we don't have any, you'll have to just reach out to Glenda on your own when you actually get a chance to watch this. And Glenda, thank you so much. This was an investment of your time, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you at some more of our dream tanks and masterminding and getting to know you further. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Deborah. I enjoyed our time together. It was a great discussion. And I look forward to, your viewers, reaching out to me. I'm available anytime to answer any questions. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we should talk about the book Thrive.
Yeah, we should.
I know. Talk to you later. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.